Hey guys, we made a podcast.
All right, guys, this is my first segment.
Hey.
So I'm excited. We're going to start calling this the Dissection. So it's going to be different topics, but they're going to be fairly lengthy. Some of them are going to be more political. Some of them are more scientific. This particular one is just going to be a light one. So it's going to be about relationships and your growth kind of through relationships.
Okay.
So it's going to be kind of an interview style where we talk to each other about different things. I'll probably be pointed in some of the questions. So if I get a little bit into your life too much and you get uncomfortable, just let me know. But hopefully I don't make you uncomfortable.
Let's get into it.
So the first question is about your relationship status. So where are you guys sitting right now? Like, are you in a relationship, not in a relationship, open relationship?
Take it away, Snubb.
So
It's personal. I told you. It's
We should preface with we don't know what these questions are.
There's no knowledge of the questions.
Right. So take it away, Snubb.
So that my relationship status, I am currently in a relationship.
Okay.
Currently single.
Currently single.
Yeah.
Okay.
Officially single.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then, like a secondary question to that is, can you explain what kind of relationship you are looking for if you're not in a relationship? So this would be you, Coley.
I mean, really, okay, so, damn, Sam. Damn.
Talk about it.
So, all right, so just my ideal relationship?
Yes.
It would just, I mean, at this point in my life, right, my ideal relationship would be with somebody that has the same, is like-minded, with the same, I have a set of criteria.
Okay.
You got to have a checking and a savings. You got to have a 401k. You got to have some investments. You have to have a portfolio, right? You have to be financially secure and stable.
Okay.
That's important to me because I'm good in those areas, and I would need my partner to also be good in all those areas. So that's number one. Number two, we gotta connect. We gotta be able to chill. They gotta be good with the homies. They gotta be, or she gotta be, just all around thorough in every area. Specifically, my biggest thing is, not so much always looks, although that is important to me. The personality really is key. We need to be able to be on a level where we can just,
I agree,
be good all the time. We don't need to fight, disagree. We could disagree, but talk about it and have a conversation and have some meaning and value. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, like, say for example, you met somebody who was like maybe a 5 or 6 year age gap from you, right?
Yeah.
They're in a different stage of their life.
Up or down?
Down.
Okay.
So they're personality-wise, 100%.
Right.
Everything's there. Like, you can see the future with this person.
Right.
Okay. Financially, they're not there, obviously, because they're younger.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you help that individual get to where you are, or do you feel like that you wouldn't be looking for that specific kind of person just because you are so well invested in what you're doing going forward?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't object to it. Like, it's gonna depend. It's gonna depend on how well we mesh together. If all the other boxes are checked, and I think that there's potential to move forward and have something, just solid and concrete, then yeah, I would absolutely want to encourage her to check those other boxes off and show her how and just make progress in that area. So yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about like an unconventional style relationship, like where you would have maybe multiple partners, or they would have multiple partners, like where you would be one of their harem or something? I don't really know what the good term is, but
I'm not rolling with
so
that.
like a poly style.
yeah.
I'm not. That's not me. You know
That's
what I
not
mean?
you.
It's just not me.
So you're looking for a singular relationship or traditional?
Yeah.
What's a traditional relationship?
Just me and Shorty. I can't have multiple. I'm not with that, bro. I'm not sharing. I don't want to share. That's number one. And then number two, that type of shit, just to me, when I see it from the outside looking in, I know a couple couples like that, it just gets messy. It gets messy.
Like, it's just feelings-wise?
Or can get messy. Feelings-wise, or I just don't want to have to think about, my girl.
I just think it'd get messy if the parties involved aren't prepared for that. You know what I mean?
They would have to be prepared for it.
So I mean, if you have a group of people who are prepared for that and they're bred for that, you know what I mean? It's not going to get messy because that's what they're used to. That's what they like. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. That's what they prefer.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it'd get messy. Like, let's say somebody like you got introduced to that, and you said, "Fine, I'll try it out." It probably could get messy because then you'll realize, "Hey, I'm not built for this. I'm not cut out for this."
Right.
You know what I mean?
It just depends.
It just depends. Yeah.
For me, no. What about you? Or are we still on me?
Yeah, no, we share. Feel free to
I'm
share.
curious what he was.
Absolutely.
It just honestly it just depends. It would depend on my partner. So let's say if I met a woman that was into that, and we talked about it and we communicated about it, like I'm open to it.
You'd be cool. What if it was?
But everything has to be communicated though.
Gotcha.
Like, you get what I'm saying? So like I'm talking about everything.
What if it was another dude and not another woman? You still
What?
cool with that?
What?
Like what if?
That's what we're talking about.
Okay, I don't know if there was any.
Hold on.
Like he's saying, if the person that you're with is like bisexual, is that what you're saying? Like where they swing both ways and they're introducing another female versus introducing another male
Basically,
kind of situation.
yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
I'm lost. So my girl wants another.
Girl versus another man.
Right.
Say, would you be more comfortable if it was a female to female
I mean,
extra relationship or?
I mean, if we it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Depends if we have that style of relationship, then like whatever your choice is, go do it. It needs to be communicated.
Gotcha.
That's all.
Communication's key.
That's it.
Yeah.
But we have to set those expectations. We have to set those ground rules up front.
Gotcha.
Like, boom, this is what I like. This is what I'm into. This is how it's going to be going forward. Are you cool with that? All right, cool. Let's set some hard limits, some soft limits,
Boundaries.
Boundaries. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Not everybody's built for that type of lifestyle, though.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that.
Go ahead.
So, have you ever had a relationship where you told somebody something that wasn't you to make that person feel more comfortable? Like, for example, this is a big one. Like people who say that they don't smoke, but they actually smoke, and they find out later in the relationship that person ends up being okay with it. Do you feel like there's something that you've perpetuated about yourself to that person, and they're living with their ideal person, and that's why you end up breaking up? Like it ends up coming out, or something happens, and that person's either upset or they end up being cool with it, like on both sides. Have you ever had a relationship like that where you've given misinformation?
I don't know how far I want to take this, but I have a story.
So go ahead, give me a story, and I'm a think.
So damn man. So basically, I was with a woman that had all those boxes checked, right? Everything was solid. The only piece that was off for me in this respect was she was very faith-based. I'm not at all faith-based. I don't have a preference. I don't really subscribe to any religions. I don't get with. I just don't. I'm just not. And some people aren't, and it's cool, right? But I'm open to the idea, and to kind of go back to your previous question, I was willing to let her show me that lifestyle, right?
Okay.
So long story short, man,
Keep it long. Long story long.
Long story long, I started going to church and fucking got baptized, and I went there, bro. I became a member of the church.
You dedicated yourself.
I did that life.
What year was this?
This was fucking 14, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it later.
I got you.
But basically, but it was fucked up because for me in the back of my head, I knew the whole time, like, I'm really not rolling with this. I'm only doing this because she lives this lifestyle, and I want to be with her. So I made a compromise, but in the back of my head, I always felt some type of way because it was fucked up for me to do that. I didn't really tell her how I felt. I was just rolling with it because I know she wanted me to be on that level. You know what I mean? But
so for that story, to her question, when you guys met, did the girl ask you, were you religious?
she did.
And you told her yes.
I told her no. Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, man, I lied.
So you told her, okay.
Yeah, I lied. I said I wasn't active in the church, and that's.
I'm trying to think of something.
It was that all.
So
fell
do you feel
apart.
like if she had all the other boxes checked, right? Do you feel like she would have understood if you had been forthcoming? Like if you just would have said in the beginning, like, I'm not religious, I don't really
Honestly,
associate myself with that.
For her, it wasn't an option. I couldn't be with her,
Okay.
and we couldn't have anything more than a friendship if I didn't make those sacrifices, attend church and become a member and get baptized and be involved and all this other. So I was like, cool, I'll do it. I'll try it. I'm open. I still wasn't rolling with it, and I still knew it was fucked up for me to do that. You know what I mean? Because I was basically lying to myself and to her friends and to her family and the church and God. You know what I mean? So yeah.
There's a lot of not good feels.
Yeah, it was. I was conflicted for a majority of that relationship, but that's the one example that I could use.
I think.
And this can be when you're like really young too. It doesn't have to be.
No, yeah, definitely. In the past, I think, there's been an occasion or two where I encounter a female and then I'm asked about my relationship status, and I let them know, hey, kind of like Bruce's story earlier.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a girl. You know what I mean?
But you have a girl.
And then it comes out later, and then everybody's mad and upset when at the start of the relationship I could have just said, listen, I actually do have a girl.
And it probably wouldn't have changed.
And it wouldn't have changed.
Exactly.
I know for a fact it wouldn't have changed anything. You get what I'm saying? We would have just handled our situation differently. You get what I'm saying? But when you tell a girl that I don't have a relationship, and now she's dealing with you in a different capacity versus dealing with you when she knows that you have a girl.
Right.
You get what I mean?
Makes sense.
So I think I've done that once or twice.
Let's talk about
Emoji.
First love.
Ooh.
Talk about your first love.
Sad.
Oh man.
So this is like a hard one because I didn't ever have that like
Coley.
burning first love experience. Like I made it all the way, through college pretty much before I started dating someone like super seriously, and like the way that relationship started off was very benign. He initiated a relationship by just saying, "Oh, well, we kissed, so we're in a relationship," and I'm like, "What? How did we get in a okay? We're in a relationship." Like I just never dated, so that was my first experience with someone, and it ended up being a very long relationship. However, I didn't initially think that we were in a relationship, and he did. So that was my first love person. But I know a lot of people have younger, more burning relationships early on.
Who wants to go first?
I mean, take it away, Snubb. I count.
And Coley, you know, because you've been in the studio with every single project I've ever, so you've heard some of these songs.
I've heard a lot of the story, yeah. Most of them, probably, really.
My first love came my senior year in high school. So pretty much my first 3 years in high school was just athlete, popcorn player, right? So then my senior year, I meet this one chick. She'll remain nameless. If she watches this, she knows exactly who it is. And even all my exes will know exactly who it is. But, so I met her. When I met her, like, I was like head over heels, had eyes for nobody else. You get what I'm saying? It was just, like, I was in love. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, graduated high school, went to the military. I was in boot camp for 3 months, 13 weeks, 3 months. She was writing me every single day in boot camp. So when you're receiving mail every single day from that person, that means that person did not miss a day from writing you. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes a couple of days for the mail to come.
Exactly.
So that means if you're getting them every day, you know what I mean? So that was my girl. Got out of boot camp, and then I actually got stationed in Japan. So me being in love with her, I was telling her that I got to go get stationed in Japan for 2 years, but I wasn't able to take her. So what I was trying to do, I was trying to give her the out. You get what I'm saying? Like, listen, I know, we're knee deep in love, but I have to go to Japan for 2 years. You can't come. I get it if you don't want to stay with me. I get it. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be hard for us. And she was telling me, no, I'll be here when you get back. I'm gonna stick it through. And in the back of my mind, that's what I wanted to hear.
Right.
But I was really trying to give her the out. So if she would have took the out, I would have understood. You get what I'm saying? Because I can't expect somebody to just.
It's a long time to wait.
It's a long time to wait.
3,000-mile distance and all it, or more. Yeah, I get it.
Like a daytime difference. You get what I'm saying? So, and I understood that. So I was trying to give her the out, but she kept saying, no, I'm sticking around. So I was like, all right, cool. And then one day, I get to my desk, and I open up my work email, and then it's from her. And it starts out with, so listen.
Damn.
And then I look, like I scroll, before I start reading, I scroll just to see what I'm getting myself into. It was a long email.
Damn.
So pretty much she goes back and she tells me, like during boot camp, while she was sending me letters every single day, right?
She fucking somebody
keeping my morale up. You know what I mean? She had told me, oh yeah, I just got a new job and I got my new apartment, all of this during boot camp, right? So then she goes back to that story that she told me. She says, remember when I told you I got my new apartment? Well, yeah, I actually moved in with this guy. You get what I'm saying? And I'm actually pregnant.
Damn.
I'm actually 6 months pregnant now. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so as I'm reading this letter, like my stomach is just every line that I'm reading. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's a time zone difference. You can't go over. You can't really talk.
Right. So, and then from there, like I was just like crushed.
Yeah.
And I went on like a rampage in Japan.
I was there with you. I remember.
That's my first love.
I remember. Man, I'd really have to kind of go back. I mean, this is gonna sound corny, but like, a lot of my relationships have been short-lived. So I don't even really know if I can say I had a true like movie style first love like that. To be honest, I mean, I've been in a couple of relationships that were maybe a year or two or whatever, and we would say I love you and this and that and the third, and the feelings were mutual and it was real and it was organic. But if I think back, I really don't think I had a first true love in that sense. Just to be honest with you, I don't know, it might sound crazy, but
No, it doesn't sound crazy. I think a lot of people say that they love somebody, and that love is different for every person. So like how he says I love you to someone is different than how you say you love someone, and it can be as deep or as shallow as you want it to be.
Right.
You could just tell somebody that you love them and not actually love them.
And that's one of those things too, where a lot of times the word gets thrown around way too soon, and you really don't mean it yet, or you're still in that honeymoon stage, or you're just overly infatuated, or whatever. And you once you start to drop it, you can't come back from that.
You can't stop saying it, right?
Have you had someone that told you that they didn't want to say it? Because I've had that experience where someone said, I'm not ready for that, or I've said I'm not ready for that.
I think it's been skirted around. Like it came out, and then the other person maybe didn't say it back in that same fashion. They skirted kind of around it, and then eventually came around later. So yeah, maybe.
No, I don't think so. I think it's always been said to me first, and then I say it within my own time.
I'm with it. Yeah.
I don't think I've jumped out of a window and said it first, and then was like looking stupid, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said it first
No.
like that either. If I think about it, so it's just different. I think men handle that shit differently.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
So
I mean,
I'm odd.
Would you say women say it first, mostly?
I think women usually say it first, but I think that they get confused with the difference between love and lust. Like they just and yeah. So like if you, I'm gonna say this with a grain of salt. A lot of women read a lot of magazines, and in a lot of magazines that they read, they're catered toward relationships and how relationships should be, and how you, and like even like the fairy tale setup, like, okay, this person got married, and this is the story that they have, and like, oh my god, I want to have that life.
So
like I only just have
false expectations.
yeah. So then you're like, every relationship that you go into with most people, they go in and you're like, okay, well he's gonna be my prince, and he's gonna be my prince, and that we're only gonna have each other, and we're gonna be gaga for each other, and then that's when the whole stereotype honeymoon mode comes in, and you're there for a year and you're so in love, and then after that you realize that the person has faults, and you get upset because they have faults. And so I think a lot of relationships happen that way, but you don't have to say you love somebody if you don't love somebody. And like and when you say you love somebody, you have to understand that their version of love may not be the same as yours. So going into the relationship knowing, hey, I love you, but I don't love you the way that you love me. Right. And that's okay. Like, we're either okay with that or we're not okay with that.
Right.
But I want to go back to what you said about your first love.
Okay.
So obviously that experience changed you mentally. Mentally. But do you feel like it changed like how you interact with women now? Like so every relationship after that.
Bro,
Did it make it better or make it worse?
Sam is psychoanalyzing us right now, bro. I'm like, this is like a free therapy session.
That's why it's called the dissection.
I love it.
Absolutely. And Coley can attest, like I said. I mean, I go back to Coley. Like, Coley was with me when I was, writing these songs. What, Lucid Fantasies 2? 2. Writing these songs, and yeah, it definitely changed how I interacted with women. So right after I found out, like I said, when I was in Japan, like I turned into a savage. Like I was a savage. Like good girls, I wasn't looking for any relationships or anything like that. I was just kind of being a dog. I mean, I think that mentality kind of carried with me for a few years. It carried with me for a few years. I mean, eventually you grow up. Like right now, it doesn't haunt me anymore. I don't think the way I was acting then because of her, I don't act that way anymore. Because you kind of put things behind you. But to answer your question, yes, it definitely changed how I treated women immediately after that. When I say immediately, I'm thinking, so that happened in 2005, maybe all the way to 2000 and, what's 2018? Shit, probably 2012, maybe 13.
So
Yeah.
it was a stint.
Yeah, it was a stint.
But it's like, so now you can feel like you can be romantic with people and keep more of the relationship style and not necessarily just be like fleeting. Everything can actually progress, in other words. It didn't
Yes.
scar you that badly.
Yes. I mean, I think, like I said, time heals. So once you kind of get over that, I mean, you can realize it is what it is. You take your L and you don't punish the females that you deal with going forward for, the female of the past. So
I think age had to do a lot with that too. Like at that age, you have to grow up eventually. When you go through some shit like that.
yeah, I was 18.
Right.
So if
It
that
forces you to eventually grow up.
right. So if, let's say that same situation happened right now at 32.
You
You
brush it
wouldn't
off.
be as crushed.
I wouldn't be. I mean, I'd be if I was in love with her the way I was in love with her, same exact situation. I mean, yeah, I'd be crushed. But I just take my loss.
You know how to handle yourself.
I know how to
now,
handle myself
and your
a lot better.
emotions
Yeah.
and your I get it.
So
I get it.
Coley, I'm going to pose a question to you since we didn't get to it.
Go for it.
You're the first person that ever cheated on you. And did that, like, talk about the story, but then also say how that affected your relationships going forward?
We could be here for a while.
Oh, wow.
Let's
talk about it.
Listen, the first, because it's happened maybe twice, maybe three times. No, actually, no, twice. We're talking about the first one.
First one ever. Because that's the one that breaks you.
I think that's happened twice in my life. 30, so. Where to begin, man? So, came out the Marines. We separated, came out the Marines, got back to the States. I was in Japan with Ian.
Okay.
I got a job, met a girl at work. Long story long, we moved in together. Back then, I wasn't thinking about checking boxes, and I didn't have it was a different set. We were like 20 something, early 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back then, I was in a whole different zone, whole different mind state, yada yada yada. But the woman that I was with at the time, she was living. This was unbeknownst to me at the time, but I found out later she had been. Everything was copacetic. We had a good relationship. It was cool. Communication was good. All that shit. But I found out later that she was living two different lives, basically, right? One with me, and one with this other person. Looking back, I don't know how I didn't ever pick up on this fact, because she was never just not missing. We were living together. You know what I mean? So she was never just not there at night. She was never on the phone all the time, texting or calling or whatever. But somehow, she was literally living with me and him at the same time, and I didn't find out until like a year in. It took that long, you know what I mean? And when I did find out, we both became aware. Back then, there was no Instagram. There wasn't really like social media like that. So, it might have been a little bit easier to get that type of shit, to do something like that. You know what I mean? But we found out when I found out, he found out, and we found out together, and I mean, it got messy fast. It was kind of it was just one of those things, like when you go through shit like that, like when I say messy, like I'm talking, I met this guy one time. He was a correctional, he was a correctional officer at the local jail or whatever. He was about my size, not a big dude, my age, a little bit older maybe, so he's a couple years older. But we met up one night just to talk about it, and I thought we were just going to talk about it, but we ended up getting into a physical altercation. Cops came, shit like that. So it got messy. I tried to still work it out with the girl, but there was no working it out. She ended it with him, and then I find out another month later that she also ended it with me when she was with him. So you see what I mean? She was still living two different lives.
She was keeping it going.
She was keeping it going. She told me she ended it with him, but then she was still telling him she ended it with me. So I think we both had the same objective. Mm-hmm. We were trying to get the other person out.
Right.
But she wanted her cake and eat it, so basically, and that's what she did. You know what I mean? So it just came to a point where there was a child involved in this relationship too, like a 2-year-old girl. So it came to a point where we were fighting, and there was, she was putting her hands on me, and even though she was wrong, with the kid there, it just changed. It changed the dynamic. I had to get out of there. So, it just got messy. It's a long. There's a lot more detail. I can't get into all of it.
Right. I got
Do you have a follow-up question on that?
Well, like, a part of that is, do you feel like that person took advantage of you, or were they just, like, was it warranted? Was there something that you did that led to that person doing that?
I'll say this, because I see what you're getting at. There were, this is getting personal, but this was a different time in my life, right? I just came out of the Marines. I just got my first real job outside the Marines. I was introduced to things that I wouldn't typically, be doing, case drugs, right? I won't get too personal with it, but she had introduced me to a particular drug, and we were doing them together, and it wasn't anything crazy. It's pretty common actually nowadays, to be honest with you. It's, you know what I mean? But that was a big part of it. We were basically just high all the time together. So I may have been a bit more out of pocket. She was definitely a bit more out of pocket. And I think a large part of that, looking back, was just the lifestyle that we were living. You know what I mean? If there wasn't drugs involved, I think shit would have been differently. But who's to say?
This is a lot heavier than I thought it would be, but
Yeah,
I appreciate
thanks.
I appreciate
Free
the
therapy
candid.
session.
Hey, free smoke, free therapy, man.
We can take it back and we'll do some lighter stuff. So, what are you already told me yours, but your key relationship things, like, does the person have to have humor involved? Is there, like, what are your personality traits, rather, we'll put it that way, personality traits that you look for in somebody?
Personality, I like
Big booty Judies. That's not just playing.
that's not it. I mean,
Not for me. Maybe for you. Not for me. I don't care about that shit.
so I've had a lot of different personalities, so I can't say I need these 2 or 3, because I can mesh with a lot of personalities. I don't like insecure.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I really just can't stand. It really bugs me. It's just insecurity. I like peace, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is peace considered a personality trait?
Like someone who just lets things slide, or
Of a
are you
peaceful
saying-
mindset.
Well, not necessarily let things slide, but just, I guess that can kind of go with the insecurity thing. If you're insecure, the household is not going to be peaceful. So I think those 2 kind of go hand in hand. I mean, you got to be funny. You got to be able to take a joke. I joke a lot, and I'll crack jokes on you. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to take a joke.
And it can't fly over your head either. Otherwise,
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you gotta learn my humor. So you gotta learn my humor, and you have to get it. Like, if you don't get it at first, fine, cool, but you gotta learn it. At some point, you have to learn my humor and start getting my jokes. Because then I get frustrated, and then I don't want to tell jokes at all. And then when I don't want to tell jokes, I feel like I can't be myself. And then when I'm not myself, then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just
snowballs.
They're just snowballs. But yeah, you gotta be able to take a joke. I don't mind if you give a joke. I mean, that's pretty much it, man. I don't.
Pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. I don't have a big long list, but
Yeah.
I do like joking. I do like peace, and I hate insecurity.
I'm with you. I agree.
You agree on both? On all of those? Anything extraneous that you...
No, I mean, I think it's pretty easy and pretty simple. I mean, there's just personality-wise, you just got to be cool. You know, we got to be able to you just have to bring something to the table. So if your personality is good, you know, you like to have a good time, you like to laugh, there's common interests and things like that. Personality might not always be 100%, but if there's other things, you can make a.
I think it's because
trade-off.
me and you. I think it's because me and you are just so cool. We're like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're just so cool and chill.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Pretty
like,
relaxed.
We're pretty relaxed ourselves, so
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have to be this, that. You could be pretty relaxed for the female. She could be pretty relaxed. I mean, as long as we just, like, even if we don't have everything in common, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can be interested in her interests and vice versa, as long as we can mesh on that and we're good with that, and it's cool.
That's cool.
That's it.
You say, like, between this age and this age, you were at a certain mindset, and then between these two ages, you were at a certain mindset. Like, do you feel like you can bracket your life, kind of by experience points. Like in your case, until 18, you were in young love mindset, and then after that, you were looking for a lot of people.
So with the 18, it was young love, but looking back on it, on where I was with that young love, it was probably the love that people dream about. You get what I'm saying? Because I was head over heels, and that's what, like, every woman would want a man like me at 18 with this particular female. You get what I'm saying? But then after that, the relationships within that gap,
A little more shallow. They didn't really go anywhere.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was like I did a lot of bad things in relationships. I didn't mean any harm by it. You know what I mean? I didn't mean bad. I didn't mean any malicious intent. I did some dumb things that hurt a lot of people's feelings, but it wasn't done with intent. I think it was a maturity thing. Maybe just not being ready, or I think now, like the mindset that I'm in now, and the communication skills I have now, and the expectations that I set going in any situation, I think I'm golden now. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I think
that comes with age.
It's the communication and the expectations, and as long as everybody on the table knows what's going on, it makes life a lot easier.
That all comes with age too. Yeah. For most people,
it takes trial and error. Like if I go back in the relationships that I fucked up in, and I set expectations from the door, like this is how I'm moving, this is how I'm living, this is how I'm gonna do. You got to be with it or not be with it. Like I probably would still be in one or two of those relationships. You know what I'm saying? Right. But when you get out of relationships, you go back to the drawing board and be like, what worked and what didn't work. Like, dog, if I would have just told her, like,
hindsight's 20/20.
It'd have been cool. You know what I mean? So then you take those talking points and those bullet points that you put in your notebook, and you just apply it to the next relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, my last one, and we're gonna end on it.
All right, there it is.
Advice for the young bucks.
Woo! Damn, this microwave generation, man. Oh man, they won't even want to hear it, to be honest. But let me think about this for a second, because I want to come correct. If we give advice for the young bucks, we're the OGs now, bro.
Don't settle.
That's it. I like that, actually.
Don't settle, because when you settle, you're gonna go into a situation. You're gonna go into a situation at first and be like, this is cool right now. I can do this right now. It's good for now. But you know deep down inside that it's not everything that you need or want, or it's not fulfilling everything. You know that, but it's cool for right now.
Right.
So you settle, but then eventually it's gonna come a time where, those things that you kind of brushed under the rug in the beginning, you're going to want those things fulfilled. You get what I mean? And then you're going to be 3, 4, 5 years in, and you realize the person that you're with can't fulfill that.
You're wasting time.
You're wasting time. So, those 4 or 5 years, you can't get them back. After year 5, you realize that person, they're just not equipped to fulfill that. And now you're stuck. Like, you know what I mean?
To piggyback off that, men don't get this advice very often, I feel like, but I feel like usually women say this to other women, but know your worth is what I would say, just to piggyback off that. Because if you bring us, if you bring those check boxes that I talked about earlier to the table, you just need to know your worth.
Wait for the right person.
Simple. It's easy.
All right.
Done.
That's good. Thank you.
I like this.
It's easy feedback.
We should do this again.
We're gonna do it again.
We should do this again.
And
therapy.
It's gonna get better every time.
Bet. Do you have a sign off?
No sign off.
We need a podcast.
Thanks for joining in
Hey.
to the Dissection. Until next time.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. That was cool, Sam. I like that.
Woo! It was heavy.
You got deep on us.
I told y'all.
Shit.
It was gonna be heavy.
That's a cool little segment, man.
That's cool. That's good. Content.
And I think if we keep that moving, we might learn some things that we don't know about each other.
Hey guys, we made a podcast.